Hello, everyone. Welcome back to all my listeners. Hope you're all having a great day so far. And if this is your first time finding me, welcome to a brand new season. I'm starting May off with Season 3, and that's going to feature newsworthy guests like business owners, entrepreneurs, educators, physician advisors, other podcasters, and social media influencers. I wanted to bring them on to get to know them on a little deeper level and hear about their journeys into amazing and their paths towards even better. So, welcome to my first episode of Season 3. Today is Wednesday, May 5th, 2021. My name is Sonal Patel, and this is the Paint the Medical Picture podcast series. Now, I keep diving into those SMRC audits and keep sharing all my compliance tips. This week, I get into Therapeutic Shoes for Diabetics. And I introduce a very special guest, Rozmin Bapat, on this episode. And I close out today's episode with some inspirational words on journeys from one of the great German poets, Maria Rilke. If you've checked me out on LinkedIn, you know I'm all about compliance and protecting our physicians and valued healthcare professionals when it comes to the business of medicine. I hope this week with me brings you enough to take back to your organizations, to want to dive in deeper, to use my tips and best practices to ensure success. I hope this podcast will help you boost the quality of documentation capture and improve coding accuracy as you help your providers paint the medical picture. If you like what you're hearing, go ahead and hit that subscribe button now so you don't miss another episode. Please write in a review and 5-star rating on Apple Podcast or wherever you listen to my podcast. I'd really love your support. As always, a friendly disclaimer. Remember, I'm bringing you current healthcare news, my compliance tips and recommendations based on my over 10 years of experience in front office, back end, coding, and billing for multi-specialty physicians, compliance, and auditing for both E&M and surgical operative reports. These are my opinions alone and are not to be construed as legal advice. So, let's get into a very special newsworthy that features my guest today, CodeWright founder and CEO, Rozmin Bapat. I'm so excited to introduce her to all of you. Now, Rozmin is the founder and CEO of CodeWright Healthcare Consulting. She has more than 15 years of experience working in all departments of a medical practice, from front desk to billing to practice admin. She has 2 coding certifications and is certified in both auditing and compliance. Her unique perspective positions her to be an ally for independent physicians. She enjoys all aspects of medical billing, coding, and compliance, and is constantly educating herself to be a subject matter expert for her clients. When she's not working, Rozmin enjoys her time with her husband and her daughter, and also volunteers in their Dallas, Texas community. Simply incredible, incredible stuff, Rozmin. Thanks so much for joining me here today.
Thank you, Sonal, for having me.
I love it. I love it. Thanks. All right. Now, so we've heard that you have your own medical billing company in Dallas, Texas, which is amazing. Now, I've been watching you develop and grow your social media presence on LinkedIn with all of your insightful posts and really lively video tips. So, what's been your biggest inspiration here? What is your why?
Well, so my biggest inspiration has been professionals like you and other entrepreneurs in the field. Every day I'm learning about how to position my company by creating and posting relevant content, be it compliance, be it billing, be it coding. So I try to educate myself as much as I can so I can post those relevant content. I have my strong points, such as the revenue cycle. I can do that in my sleep. But lately, my passion has been compliance. So I'm trying my best to read up on different things and rules and guidelines. So I can, soak up as much knowledge as I can. And my why would be to provide solutions to the problems that are faced by many physicians, and especially independent physicians who have their own private practices. From employee turnover to lack of training to billing and coding errors, all of these issues are leading to physician burnout. And physicians are leaving their practices, to pursue other careers, to do something else because they just feel so burdened by all the rules and guidelines and the paperwork. And I want to tell these physicians that there is a better way. If they are open to listening and implementing the guidelines and implementing the best practices that we have to offer, then I think that they will see the difference and they will thrive as well.
Absolutely. Those are really incredible insights. Yeah. I mean, there's so much that I know I've learned from so many of your posts and your tips that you provided. So I definitely agree with you that, if our independent physicians would like to decrease their levels of burnout, you're absolutely right. There are lots of people like yourself, like me, so many others in this particular space of healthcare that are actually here to help make your lives so much easier, reduce that stress level, that burnout, and help you succeed. So I could not agree more. It's fantastic. It's fantastic. Now, my next line of questioning here is all about, we all have a past and we all have a history. So if you can, I'd hope you could share some of the steps you took to get you here. Can you try and tell us a little bit more about your journey into acquiring your own medical billing company?
Sure. So I actually have a degree in marketing, and I had a dream that I was going to become a marketing executive for a Fortune 500 company. And I used to watch the show, The Apprentice. I know there's another debate that can happen about that, but I was very inspired by that, and I would want to build marketing campaigns and ad campaigns and things like that. But of course, the reality was that fresh out of college, there were just only like sales jobs available. And I realized very early in my career that I was not good at sales. So then I was really trying to find my way, and a family member actually recommended doing a billing and coding course. I really wasn't inclined to it in the beginning because my head was in the clouds at the time. But I was like, you know what, I'll give it a try. And I actually enjoyed it. I felt like I understood it. And so then after I finished my billing and coding course, I started working in a medical practice as a front desk receptionist, which also was, it felt like it was beneath me. And I was so overqualified for this job, but life has a way of humbling you and steering you into the right direction. And actually, I started liking and enjoying that position because I was interacting with patients. I was learning so many things about different insurances and things like that. So that led to me getting a position in the billing department. And that's when I was really able to apply the knowledge that I had learned and, append codes on claims and doing the billing part of it, learning and everything. And then this was actually in Houston. And then when we moved to Dallas, I actually got a job at a cardiology office as an office manager. So, as in a small practice with a single doctor, the office manager wears a lot of hats. So I was the office manager, I was the biller, I was the IT, consultant, I was everything. So that job actually taught me a lot about running a medical practice and what are some of the challenges and what are some of the things that are needed, and so I identified a lot of gaps. I identified the lack of training. I identified that there was a lot of turnover and dissatisfaction among employees. And so those were some of the things when I did decide to go into business for myself. I thought that I can kind of position myself in a way where I have a unique perspective, that I've been in the trenches. I've been there. I know what kind of challenges independent medical practices are experiencing. And I wanted to help the doctors who were out there kind of working in their silos, and help them. And so I decided that, with CodeRight, it's primarily a billing company, but we're not just a billing company. We're very much a partner for our clients. We do a lot of research for them about, rules and guidelines and coding and billing issues, and give them a lot of recommendations to increase their reimbursements, and just doing a lot of the things that and trying to streamline the processes for them.
Just incredible. I mean, just hearing you talk about how you started, right? That was my question. So marketing executive, that was your original, we all have those original dreams in life, passions to pursue. So I love hearing that business sense that came out pretty early in you, but you recognized where your weaknesses were. And so you had to pivot. And I love hearing that. And you wanted to try something different. So I think that's incredible. I know I myself can relate to that very much. I did not start in this particular field of healthcare either. My past, I was an art historian. I learned about the museum world. I was in the academic world, but for art history. So completely different. But the same, like you, when you find medical coding and billing, you're sort of, can I do this? Is this the right thing? But then absolutely, you just keep striving and surging ahead. And I loved everything you had to say, especially the points about your company, that it's not just a billing company, that you and I are so used to, just doing the monthly billing and that's it. It entails so much more, and your company actually provides all sorts of that work and that guidance for a partnership, a team-like collaborative effort with your physicians and the practices. So I think that's incredible. Very unique. Great. All right. Now, I think since we've been connected on LinkedIn now for quite some time, that I'm all about coding compliance and proactive compliance. So I think you and I can both agree that definitely spills over to medical billing, right? But I want to hear your voice. What is it you would like to see happen to improve the entire process of billing overall? What types of process improvements do you think are necessary to improve this space of healthcare?
The most important thing, and I've said this so many times on my LinkedIn platform and my videos and everything, it's the training. It's the basic training. And when I say training, I mean that, the front desk training is so important. Because when we talk about billing, we're talking about revenue cycle. We're talking about the whole cycle that the claim goes through, right? So your front desk people are kind of gatekeepers for that. If they get the right information from the patient, then everything kind of falls into place. But if they kind of drop the ball, then the chain is broken. The link, the link is missing right there. So I think training is so important, and we do that so many times where when we do have a billing client that comes on board, we offer them the training free of charge, because it's like, this will make our life easier. This will make sure that you're getting paid and, the claims are getting processed correctly and everything. So we are very passionate about training and education. And when I say training and education, I also mean the training and education on documentation, on correct documentation, on following the rules and the guidelines for the physicians and non-physician providers as well. So those are very, very important. We have clients who have hired nurse practitioners. So for them to understand incident to guidelines, for them to understand shared service guidelines, those things are extremely important. I mean, yeah, we can fix things on their behalf at the back end, but it's like, do you just want to fix it, or do you want to show them the right way to do it? And I'm very much about showing them the right way to do it. So they learn, they learn going forward that, okay, this is the right way to do it, and they won't make any mistakes. The same mistake again, of course, mistakes do happen, but not make the same mistake over and over. So all it takes is better education and better support for the providers. I get so many so much pushback from some physicians sometimes, that my friend told me, is doing such and such thing, or so and so doctor is doing this. And I just feel like, doctors, I mean, I have so much respect for them. They put their lives, at risk every single day, to take care of their patients, especially now with COVID and everything whatever's going on around the world. I have so much respect for them, but I also feel like there's a lot of the business acumen that comes into running your own practice. So I think that the doctor should trust people like you, me, other entrepreneurs or healthcare consultants who kind of are into all this other stuff, with compliance and business and all of that. And they should focus on taking care of their patients. And if they do that, I think we can all kind of, exist in harmony and we can work together to kind of just keep their independence, because I know a lot of doctors I talk to, they want to hold on to their independence. They want to have, but they do get so burned out by all the paperwork and everything. So I do feel that if we can just kind of partner with them and show them the other things that are going on with running their practice, I think, they can be very successful.
So well said. I mean, amazing. All of those points, the fact that you are a company that sounds to me like it's incredibly comprehensive. You want to do things right the first time. You want to tell your providers and your practices to do things right initially, rather than, helping them clean up things later. So that was a really poignant takeaway. Love that. And absolutely just communicating with them that the business acumen portion of what they do, there are professionals out there like yourself, like me, other consultants, so many people who literally, this is what we do. This is what our passion is, where our integrity lies. And absolutely, physicians should continue providing the amazing healthcare and services that they do to their patients, because you and I can't do that. That's on them. And we love what they do. And we want them to continue surviving and even so thriving. I don't want to see them get those post-payment audit letters. I don't like seeing any of that. So I love talking to other professionals like you that also have a mission to strive for proactive compliance, not just for the coders and the billers, but for physicians and their practices. So I love it. It's great. All right, Rozmin. Now, before you leave us today, my last question. What are you still striving for? Where am I going to see you in the next 5 years?
Next 5 years, I'm striving to see myself as a trusted resource for physicians in private practice. I'm also a big advocate for small businesses in creating and keeping jobs in America. That's why we are a 100% US-based company. I know there's a lot of competitors I have who run billing companies, and they have sent their processes and their work offshore to be more profitable. I feel, yes, of course, I have a company, I have a business, I have employees, I have payroll. So it's a business and I want to make profit, absolutely. But that's not why I got into this business. So I really want to be able to help them. And I really help the professionals, help the physicians. And I know by helping them, it'll help me grow my business as well. And I have very specific goals for the next 5 years. And I will have to just break them down into smaller objectives and then keep hitting those goals in the next 5 years.
I love it. Sounds incredible. I can't wait to see it happen. Love it. Now, where can my listeners find you?
So I am on LinkedIn and I'm very active, especially in the last 6 months. I think I've been posting, almost every day, something or another. So they can follow me on LinkedIn, find me as Rozmin Bapat. And then we also have a company Facebook page, Code-Right Healthcare Consulting. Have a YouTube channel as well. It's all the same, Code-Right Healthcare Consulting. And if they go on our website, codewriteconsulting.com, they can actually sign up for our newsletter, which is a pretty recent endeavor that we have taken on. And we may not be very consistent with it because, it takes a lot of time to put a newsletter together, but, we try our best. We're not going to spam anybody, and we're not going to put, something in their email every day. It's a monthly newsletter, and we try to get the most relevant and the latest information that's out there that can help the physician. So if they subscribe to the newsletter, that would be great.
Excellent, Rozmin. I'm going to make sure I put everything in my show notes. So I just wanted to say thank you so much for your time and being on my podcast today. I know everyone is going to have so many takeaways and insights from you today. So I can't wait to have you back whenever you want. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. I am so glad that we got connected on LinkedIn. And recently I had an issue and I reached out to you and you were incredible. We talked about it and you helped me so much in figuring those things out. So I value this relationship and this friendship that we have built. So, and of course, looking forward to where it goes from here.
I love it. Thanks so much. I'll see you next time. And now it's time for my best practice tips in Trusty Tip. Let's dive into my compliance tips here in part 9 of my SMRC audits that are blasting in across the country. Remember, these are the 16 new Unified Program Integrity Contractor, the UPIC audits that are being conducted via the Supplemental Medical Review Contractor, the SMRC, at Noridian. Their function is to conduct nationwide medical reviews of Parts A, B, and DME providers and suppliers as directed by CMS. It's the responsibility of the SMRC to review medical records and related documentation to ensure that claims are processed in accordance with CMS guidelines. Now, I provided you with details for 8 in prior episodes that involves durable medical equipment, or DME, supplies in non-covered skilled nursing facilities, SNFs, spinal cord stimulators, outpatient hyperbaric oxygen therapy, known as HBOT, diabetic testing strips, or DTS, polysomnography, also called sleep studies, inpatient rehabilitation facility, or IRFs, skilled nursing facilities, or SNFs, and specimen validity audits that are in the SMRC's spotlight. So let's get into part 9 of my SMRC audits. The 9th is titled 01-028 Therapeutic Shoes for Diabetics, Notification of Medical Review. Now, Noridian SMRC is conducting post-payment review of claims for Medicare Part B claims for diabetics that were billed on dates of service from July 1st, 2018 through June 30th of 2019. Remember, these are the time parameters. This notification includes the reasons for the review, documentation that will be requested in the additional documentation request letter, the ADR, as well as resources that providers and suppliers may wish to consult with as they're submitting their claims. Now, some background on the why. Why on earth is this audit happening? So let's go over some background details. Therapeutic Shoes for Diabetics are specialized shoes and are also inserts that are intended to reduce the risk of skin breakdown in diabetics with pre-existing foot diseases. Now, therapeutic shoes and inserts are actually covered under the Therapeutic Shoes for Individuals with Diabetes benefit, which you can find in our Social Security Act 1861 S12. Therapeutic shoes and inserts are covered by Medicare Part B if qualifying criteria and conditions are met. Now, back in 2018, the CERT Medicare Fee for Service Improper Payment Report noted that there was an improper payment rate of a whopping 73.2% for this service. That's a huge improper payment rate error. Of course, the reason for the review is critical. They're narrowing it down here in scope for us, thank goodness, right? The scope involves Noridian performing data analysis and conducting medical review. Noridian SMRC will complete their data analysis and review activities in accordance with applicable statutory, regulatory, and sub-regulatory guidance. They are honing in on 4 HCPCS codes specifically that I will list out for you here. Now, the first HCPCS code is A5500, and that's defined as for the diabetics only, fitting, including follow-up, custom preparation and supply of off-the-shelf depth inlay shoe manufactured to accommodate multi-density inserts per shoe. Now, the second HCPCS code is HCPCS code A5512, which is defined as for diabetics only, multiple density insert, direct formed, molded to foot after external heat source of 230 degrees Fahrenheit or higher, total contact with patient's foot, including arch, base layer minimum of 1/4 of an inch material of Shore A 35 durometer or 3/16 of an inch material or Shore A 40 durometer or higher, prefabricated each. Now, the third HCPCS code is HCPCS code A5513, which is defined as for diabetics only, multiple density insert, custom molded from model of patient's foot, total contact with patient's foot, including arch, base layer minimum of 3/16 of an inch material of Shore A 35 durometer or higher, includes arch filler and other shaping material, custom fabricated each. And the fourth and final HCPCS code is HCPCS code A5514, which is defined as for diabetics only, multiple density insert made by direct carving with CAM technology from a rectified CAD model created from a digitized scan of the patient's foot. Total contact with patient's foot, including arch, base layer minimum of 3/16 of an inch material of Shore A 35 durometer or higher, includes arch filler and other shaping material, custom fabricated each. Now, of course, to go along with those HCPCS codes, there's documentation requirements as well. I'm going to go over a list of 5 specific, very specific documentation requirements that will be in your ADR letter. Now, these are the items that you will have to furnish to support your claims already paid, right? Because you are now under review for this post-payment audit. Now, the first documentation requirement is for the written verbal or dispensing order, if it's applicable. The second documentation requirement is, of course, that detailed written order, the DWO. The third documentation requirement is going to include all pertinent medical record documentation to support therapeutic shoes are reasonable and medically necessary for persons with diabetes, and it's going to have to include all of these things that I will list out, but they're not limited to: a diagnosis of diabetes, or documentation to support the beneficiary has one or more of these following diabetic conditions, like previous amputation of the other foot or part of the either foot, a history of pre-ulcerative calluses of either foot, or peripheral neuropathy with evidence of callus formation of either foot, or a history of previous ulceration of either foot, or foot deformity of either foot, or poor circulation in either foot. And then there also needs to be included in that pertinent medical record documentation a signed physician certification statement to support that the patient needs therapeutic shoes and or inserts under a comprehensive plan of care related to their diabetic condition. You'll also have to provide documentation to support that the shoes are fitted and furnished by a podiatrist or other qualified individual, like a ped orthotist or an orthotist just in general. Now, documentation of an examination of the beneficiary's feet to include description of the abnormalities that will be accommodated by the shoes and the inserts. You'll also have to have measurements of the patient's feet. You'll also have to include documentation of an evaluation at the time of delivery to include an assessment with the patient wearing the shoes and or those inserts, as well as the documentation to support that the shoes and or inserts were actually fitted properly. Now, the fourth documentation requirement is, of course, that advanced beneficiary notice of non-coverage, that ABN, if it's applicable. And finally, the fifth and final documentation requirement is any and all other documentation to support the items that were billed. So remember, these post-payment audits are a sign, right? It's a signal that something may be amiss in your documentation, your coding, and your billing. These 5 requirements are a very good reminder that you should be making checklists and improving workflows and efficiencies at your practice to ensure all documentation is being captured, coded, and billed compliantly for all applicable statutory and regulatory guidelines. So, a better, smarter approach is one that's proactive and starts by painting a clear, rich, and vibrant medical picture the first time, so your certified medical coder can then abstract codes with accuracy. And finally, I focus Season 3's Sparks on journeys. I want this 3rd season's Spark to be filled with the world's thought leaders, writers, artists, philosophers, everyone who inspires the journeys we all take, have to take, must take. So, in this week's inspiring quote in Spark is from the great German poet Rainer Maria Rilke. The only journey is the one within. Absolutely, right? The journey within, that internal path, is what paves the way. I truly believe it is the work we do for ourselves internally that helps us gain clarity and vision, our purpose in work, our purpose for others, our purpose for living life to its fullest. I am happy Rainer Maria Rilke's spark still burns brightly in all of us today. So that wraps up today's episode. Please go out and make this a great day, an incredible week for yourselves. Go do great things this week and aim a little higher and do a little more and give back in any way you can in 2021. There's so much each one of us can do. Now, I know so many of my family and friends are truly affected, devastated with the insanity going on right now in India. We've all been on WhatsApp for hours on end these past few days. Now, we've all been giving and donating what we can, making sure it's going to the right organizations since we can't get on a plane right now and fly over. So please remember to keep masking up, washing up, and staying physically distant. We're not all vaccinated just yet, and we are still a world in crisis, a country in a pandemic state. So, as always, I appreciate you diving into today with me. And if you want more information from me, go ahead and follow me on LinkedIn. I'll leave links to everything in the show notes below. Please continue staying safe and healthy. Practice safety for one and all during our collective life in the time of coronavirus. Thank you for listening in on today's very special episode and the beginning of my season 3. And I hope every week with me brings you closer to helping your providers paint a masterpiece. See you next Wednesday.
Thank you.